Hi everyone, welcome to a video about the crazy world of level 1 PvP battling. So these are some matches from a recent level 1 PvP tournament that I won. But before we get into them, I'll just kind of explain a little bit about the level 1 meta. So these are this is my collection of level 1 Pokemon. And what's interesting about the level 1 meta is that really it's all about pure damage output. The matches don't last long enough for charge moves to be relevant. So really what you want is Pokemon with high damage per turn output. And that means a lot of Pokemon which are good in conventional PvP just don't make the grade in level 1. So you're looking for things like Charm users, Bite, Dragon Breath, Counter, Smackdown. So the meta is kind of dominated really by things like Dragon Breath, Gyarados. Metagross is good because it's quite tanky, and Dragonite. So this is the team I put together. So Metagross and Gyarados are pretty kind of staple picks. Heracross is good to counter any rock type Pokemon, any steals. Having the bug typing gives it useful resistances, and there's not really any flyers, so doubling up on the flying weakness isn't a problem. Galade's really there, kind of a little bit of a flex because shadow level ones are pretty rare, but having the shadow and the charm damage is pretty deadly. And Steelix is really the secret weapon. Steelix is using Thunderfang, so it's there purely to counter Dragon Breath, Gyarados. And Muck's really just there for any fairies. So this is my first, the team I'm facing up first. This is a guy called Poplio Fan, 1992. So again, see Metagross in there. Magnezone, I guess, is there to counter Gyarados. Magmar's an interesting pick. It actually turned out to be Magmortar, but that's kind of an interesting bit of a kind of spicy pick. So really my play here is Steelix and Muck are kind of useless for me, whereas Heracross and Gyarados have got some really great matchups. I just need to keep Heracross away from the Magmar and Gyarados away from Magnezone. So getting into the matches then. So this first match, I'm leading with my Heracross. He's got Metagross. It's not a bad matchup for me, but I'm going to jump in with the Gyarados because that walls off the Metagross, brings in or draws out the Magnezone, so I can come back in with the Heracross. And then I've got a little bit of a health advantage, which is enough to get one move on the Machamp. And then Galade just comes in to finish off the match. So the key thing really is just having a plan for whatever you see, is is knowing exactly what your counter is. So a good start into the second match. So this time I'm leading Galade. It's just got such raw damage output that it's a good lead. Unfortunately, Snorlax comes in first, so that's not great for me, but I didn't want to switch out there because I know I can just sacrifice the Galade, come in with the Heracross, and it's not going to take too much damage. So there, switch out for the Gyarados. Magmortar comes in, but it doesn't have much play against Gyarados, and then Gyarados just wipes out the rest of the team. So that's really the kind of power of Gyarados, is if it doesn't have, if the opposition doesn't have a counter to it, it can just really run through teams just with that very, very quick damage output. So in this last one, I'm going to go in with the Gyarados lead and just hope to kind of sort of push through their team and kind of get ahead of the game. Obviously, the thing I'm worried about is Magmar. Sorry, not Magmar, Magnezone. So I need to have a quick switch ready if it is Magnezone to bring in the Heracross. So it is Magnezone. That's the kind of the sort of worst start for me. So I need to get out quick. Seems to be lagging a bit there, unfortunately. So I ended up losing my Gyarados before I could make the switch. So I'm a little bit behind the curve now, having lost both switch and one Pokemon. So it's really just whether Gallade can get to a charm before it's taken out. Unfortunately, Snorlax in the back. I really needed Heracross up against that. So 2-1 in the first match, not bad, not a decent start. So this is my opponent for the second set of matches. So an interesting pick here, Beartic. I'm guessing this is going to be using Charm. Aggron, if it's got depending on the move, it could threaten my Metagross and Heracross. Mamoswine's a tricky one because it could be Powder Snow or it could be the ground move. So depending on what that's got, it's difficult to kind of plan for. I need to use Heracross a lot here because it's really my only counter to their Metagross. But equally, they don't really have an answer to my Gallade apart from Beartic. So a heavy dose of Heracross and Gallade planned in this match. So I start off with a Gyarados. Again, they don't have a great answer to my Gyarados, so I can kind of feel reasonably safe with this. So you see it walls off the Metagross pretty nicely. And that means I've now got the switch advantage, basically. So coming with Metagross, one shot takes out the Beartic, and then it's really just a kind of formality. So he ended up walling off Heracross with Metagross, but I still had one Pokemon unused in the back. So a good start there, and really, again, just that Gyarados winning the day, because the only real threat to that is Aggron, and even then, that's not a terrible matchup for me. So I'm leading Metagross into this second matchup. Again, I'm not really that worried about most things on the team. So Beartic is a great lead for me. So takes it out before it can even get to a charm. So it's a real uphill battle for my opponent here. So quick switch into Gyarados against the Heracross to keep the pressure on. Dragonite in the back. I've got Gallade, so that should be able to take that out. So 2-1 up. Now the tournament's only played over 4 rounds, so I need to kind of keep the pressure up here because it could come on to number of wins. So this last one, I'm going to go with a slightly different team, again leading Metagross, because I don't think they've got really much of an answer to it, but leaving the Gyarados out this time. So we've got a Metagross Mirror. That's not too bad to kind of play that out. It turns out because of the good IVs on my Metagross, well, I actually think they may have dropped a fast move there in that one, because even with IVs, that Mirror should be simultaneous KO. But then that drop move really essentially gives me the match, because it lets me see what they're bringing in and then get all my counters lined up against it. So that was really unfortunate for my opponent in that one, that they dropped that fast move against the Metagross, because then it would have just been kind of a bit of roulette as to which Pokemon we both brought in second. So this is my third matchup, and this one I'm a little bit worried about the Alolan Muck. I don't really have any answer to that Alolan Muck if it's using Bite. Togekiss I'm not too worried about, and I've got okay matches with my Gyarados, some decent matches with Gallade here, but this really is a tough one, because if my opponent uses a heavy dose of Alolan Muck, particularly if Alolan Muck's in the back, I don't really think I've got much of an answer to it. So my kind of plan here, because they're using Gyarados, is to use Steelix. So I'm hoping they'll rely on the Gyarados, and essentially my play here is just to try and line that Fang Steelix up against their Gyarados, because I know it can take it out in 2 moves. So if I can do that, I just get way ahead of the curve. So it's a great start for me. They're starting with the Gyarados, so I'm just going to go for a quick switch into Fang Steelix, and hopefully it's gone before they even really know what's happened. So even though I've given up the switch, I've got basically a one Pokemon lead. So there's that Alolan Muck that I'm worried about. What I'm going to do here is bring in the Gyarados. It's going to take a pounding from the Alolan Muck. But thankfully, I did gamble on that, because with Togekiss in the back, if I'd let that Muck kind of take my Metagross right down, then I would have been in trouble. So going into the second match, using a different team composition, but the same plan really. It's just all about lining up Fang Steelix against their Gyarados. So this time they've got Muck in the front. That's not too bad for me, because the Gyarados just about walls it off. So what I'm going to do here is, even though the Metagross is not a great matchup, I want to bring that in first to try and draw out that Gyarados if it's there. Because if I come in with the Steelix, he can position the Gyarados to avoid it. So there goes. Gyarados comes in, ready for a quick switch in with the Steelix, and then Steelix can chunk away at Metagross, and then I should have enough HP to come in and win that mirror. So yeah, as I said, really just all about matching up that Steelix against the Gyarados. It's such a good matchup for me that yeah, it's a little bit counterintuitive, I guess, that Gyarados kind of dominates the meta, but I got such a hard counter to it that if they were to leave their Gyarados out, then I'm kind of stuck, because Steelix is kind of useless against everything else. So playing out the third match here. So just about win this mirror, bringing back Metagross, but it's an uphill battle now, because I've got the Gyarados. Steelix comes in, so we'll just see whether they've got enough HP, and I just take out that Muck with the Fang Steelix. So Fang Steelix is, because it's quite tanky, it does... Okay, so going into the final match, so I need to win this at least 2-1, because if I lose 2-1, we'll be entirely even and they'll take the head-to-head. So it's the middle set here. So Dragonite's a bit of a worry to me, really only Gallade's any good against it. Gyarados, again, want to line up Fang Steelix. Hippowdon's one that worries me. If it's got Bite, only Heracross counters it. So in this first match, I'm going in heavy dose of Heracross with Steelix. So not a great match for me at the start with Dragonite. So I'm going to try and get in quick with the Gallade to take that out. Gallade, it will depend on what they bring in as to whether it can get a charm off. It does, so it takes a big chunk off that Rhyperior. So I can come back in with the Heracross, take that out before Rhyperior can get to a Smackdown. They got Gyarados in the back. That's great for me. Bring in the Steelix and finish that off. So as with the last set of matches, really my whole plan here is to hope they go with Gyarados and then just try and line Steelix up against it. And that puts me 1-0 up, essentially, in the Pokemon. So this time I didn't see that Hippowdon. So this time I'm going to go in with the Metagross, because really their only threat to me is if that Hippowdon's got Bite. So Gyarados at the start, essentially this for the tournament. Great start for me. I can bring in the Fang Steelix. It's done its job. They bring in the Heracross. Steelix manages to chunk a fair bit off that Heracross, which I was quite surprised about. Even just doing neutral damage, it's pretty chunky. So now I want to bring out the Gyarados, even though it's not great against Heracross, to draw out this Melmetal, because I don't want that against me at the end. So yeah, so that's it. 2-0 up. So that's the tournament basically. So final match, just playing it out. This time I just decided to go in with Gyarados, Steelix, and Heracross. So you got a Dragonite start, so I just play this out really. Should just lose this, leaving the Dragonite on a tiny bit of health. So that's not bad, but it does mean I've lost the advantage of switch. So what I'm going to do here is, even though I'm going to take a bit of damage, is bring in the Heracross and try and draw out their Gyarados, and then hopefully get the Steelix in against it. So I'm anticipating the Gyarados, it's the Hippowdon, so this was what I was kind of worried about all the way through. And you can see, resisting that electric damage from Steelix, it's just game. So I managed to win the tournament with 2-1 in that final match, ending up with 10 wins and 2 losses across the 4 rounds. So yeah, really pleased with how that went. And basically, Steelix really was the MVP there. Wherever my opponent had a Gyarados, all I needed to do was try and make sure I lined that Steelix up to give me that advantage. So hope you enjoyed that. More Crazy Level 1 soon.